Hey, what is up, guys? I am Hippie. I want to welcome you back to a brand new Creepypasta video for you guys today. I had a lot of fun making the one that I had uploaded yesterday, so I decided to go ahead and record another one for you guys on Halloween. I decided to do a little bit of looking around and find if I could find the scariest one possible. And I found one, Candle Cove, that gave me a little bit of chills. So I'm going to go ahead and read it for you guys. You guys go ahead and go turn off the lights, whatever you gotta do. Hop on back, and we're gonna read this story. Candle Cove. Subject: Candle Cove Local Kids Show. Does anybody remember this kids show? It was called Candle Cove, and I must have been 6 or 7. I never found reference to it anywhere, so I think it was a local station around 1971 or 1972. I lived in Ironton at the time. I don't remember which station, but I do remember it was on at a weird time, like 4 p.m. Response: Candle Cove, local kids show. It seems really familiar to me. I grew up outside of Ashland and was about 9 years old in '72. Candle Cove. Was it about pirates? I remember a pirate marionette at the mouth of a cave talking to a little girl. Response: Candle Cove Local Kids Show. Yes, okay, I'm not crazy. I remember a pirate Percy. I was always kind of scared of him. He looked like he was built from parts of other dolls. Really low budget. His head was an old porcelain baby doll, looked like an antique that didn't belong on the body. I don't remember what station this was. I don't think it was WTSF though. Response: Sorry to resurrect this old thread, but I know exactly what you mean, Sky Shell. I think Candle Cove ran only a few months in 1971, not 1972. I was 12 and I watched it a few times with my brother. It was channel 58, whatever station that was. My mom would let me switch to it after the news. Let me see what I remember. It took place in Candle Cove. It was about a little girl who imagined herself to be friends with pirates. The pirate ship was also called the Laughingstock. The pirate Percy wasn't a very good pirate because he got scared too easily. And there was Calliope music constantly playing. Don't remember the girl's name. Janice or Jade or something. I think it was Janice. Response: Thank you, Jared. Memories flooded back when you mentioned the Laughingstock on channel 58. I remember the bow of the ship was a wooden smiling face, and the lower jaw submerged. It looked like it was swallowing the sea, and it had that awful Ed Wynn voice and laughed. I especially remember how jarring it was when we switched from the wood plastic model to the foam puppet version of the head that talked. Response: Haha, I remember that too. Do you remember the part, Sky Shell, you have to go inside? Response: Oh, Mike, I got chills reading that. Yes, I do remember. That's what the ship always told Percy when there was a spooky place he had to go in, like a cave or a dark room where the treasure was. And the camera would push in on the Laughingstock's face with each pause. You have to go inside. With his 2 eyes askew in that flapping foam jaw, and the fishing line that opened and closed. It looked so cheap and awful. You guys remember the villain? He had a face that was just a handlebar mustache above really tall, narrow teeth. Response: I honestly thought the villain was Pirate Percy. I was about 5 when the show was on. Nightmare fuel. Response: That wasn't the villain. The puppet with the mustache, that was the villain's sidekick, Horace Horrible. He had a monocle too, but it was on top of the mustache. I used to think that meant he only had 1 eye. But yeah, the villain was another marionette, the Skin Taker. I can't believe they let us watch that back then. Response: Jesus H. Christ the Skin Taker. What kind of a kid show were we watching? I seriously could not look at the screen when the skin taker showed up. He usually descended out of nowhere with his strings, just a dirty skeleton wearing that brown top hat and cape, and a glass eye that was too big for his skull. Christ almighty. Response. Wasn't his top hat and cloak all sewn up crazily? That was supposed to be children's skin? Response. Yeah, I think so. Remember, his mouth didn't open and close. His jaw just slid back and forth. I remember the little girl said, "Why does your mouth move like that?" And the skin taker didn't look at the girl but at the camera and said, "To grind your skin." Response. I'm so relieved that other people remember this terrible show. I used to have this awful memory, a bad dream I had where the opening jingle ended. The show faded in from black and all the characters were there, but the camera was just cutting to each of their faces and they were just screaming. And the puppets and the marionettes were flailing spastically and they were just all screaming. The girl was just moaning and crying like she had been through hours of this. I woke up many times from that nightmare. I used to wet the bed when I had it. Response. I don't think that was a dream. I remember that. I remember that was an episode. Response. No, not possible. There was no plot or anything. I mean, literally just standing in place, crying and screaming for the whole show. Response. Maybe I'm manufacturing the memory because you said that, but I swear to God, I remember seeing what you described. They just screamed. Response. Oh God, yes. The little girl, Janice. I remember seeing her shake and the skin taker screaming through his gashed teeth, his jaw careening so wildly I thought it would come off his wired hinges. I turned it off, and it was the last time I watched. I ran to tell my brother, and we didn't have the courage to turn it back on. Response. I visited my mom today at the nursing home. I asked her about when I was little in the early 70s, when I was 8 or 9, and if she remembered a kid's show, Cove. She said she was surprised I could still remember that, and I asked why. She said, "Because I used to think it was so strange that you said, 'I'm gonna go watch Cove now, Mom.' And then you would turn the TV to static and just watch dead air for 30 minutes. You had a big imagination with a pirate show."